Hey, greetings, everyone. This is your host and Vice President for the American Institute of Stress. It's Will Heckman. I want to thank you for joining us again today. I'd like to ask that if you're watching or you're listening to this, make sure you go to stress.org, check out our magazines, check out the information. We have a lot of free information about stress-related issues. And if you're watching us, everybody asks. So I'm going to ask too that you hit the subscribe button. Let me tell you why we do that. We just recently got voted in the top 10 of the top 100 stress podcasts. We were in the top 10. We're number 8. And that's because of people like you subscribing. So please hit the button. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so today we will be speaking about having less stress and more joy in our lives. We take a look at how to have a smarter, more empowering way to approach the stress that shows up in our work and daily lives. Instead of relying on outdated advice, we want to explore how to rethink stress, understand where it's really coming from, which is very important, and take a clear, practical steps to moving forward with confidence. And the conversation is all about cutting through the noise. There's a lot of it. We want to reduce that overwhelming feeling and maybe discover how small shifts can lead to meaningful change. And if you're looking to feel lighter, more focused, bring a greater sense of balance and satisfaction into today, you don't want to miss this. And joining us today is a very special guest, Amy Leneker. Amy is an optimistic, joy-seeking, recovering workaholic. She's also a leadership consultant with over 25 years of leadership experience, including a decade in the C-suite. She has helped over 100,000 leaders and teams and organizations, Fortune 100 companies, the public sector. She helps them to thrive at work through keynotes and coaching and training centered on less stress and more joy. Now, she's a first-generation college student. Amy's earned both her undergraduate and graduate degrees while working full-time. Congratulations. And later raising a family. And she has studied leadership at Yale, neuroscience at the Neuro Leadership Institute, and stress resilience at Harvard Medical School. Amy has appeared in Forbes and Katie Couric's Media and CEO World Magazine and other very prestigious outlets. And she's a regular contributor to Fast Company. And also the author of a national research study, The State of Stress and Joy at Work in 2026, which has become a very important topic. She also is the author of Cheers to Monday, which has recently made the USA bestseller list. Congratulations, Amy, which can be found at her website, amyleneker.com, or, of course, like everything else on the planet, on Amazon. So thank you, Amy. I appreciate you joining us today. I have a lot of questions for you. I was very interested when I read your article, and that's why I contacted you. So first of all, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you.
Well, you know what? I love talking to people like you because you have a real good handle on putting more joy in our lives, which is so important. We forget that. We all get so caught up in what we're doing that stress has become, well, it's just like, that's like eating. You just have to deal. It's not like that. In your article was entitled "Everything You're Doing About Work Stress is Wrong, and Here's What to Do Instead," which I like. You challenge a lot of conventional thinking. So tell me, what are people getting most wrong today when it comes to managing, especially work stress?
The short answer is almost everything. The longer answer is that most people I work with, most leaders and teams that I work with, treat work stress as if it's just one thing. And it's not. There are 5 distinct kinds of work stress. And so what happens is very well-intentioned leaders propose solutions or propose initiatives, and really they're just getting at a symptom. They're not actually getting at the problem of work stress. So the biggest mistake I see across the board is people just don't understand how to categorize their work stress so that they can solve it.
That's very interesting. I never thought of it that way. You're right. We take a global view of stress. Oh, it's stress, and we talk about negative stress and use stress because it's
Sure.
positive. Without stress, we can't be productive. Let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Breaking it down has got to be a great help, especially if you're going to be a good leader. If you're going to be a good leader, you have to understand things on a much, I don't want to say microscopic, but at least a categorized area than just globally. You also describe what we're facing, and I love this because I've said it too, a chronic stress crisis,
Yes.
which is so true. So just for our listeners,
Mm-hmm.
because we have listeners and viewers from all over the world, and young and old, what makes today's work stress different? From say, what people experience even 10, 15 years ago. I can see the difference. I've been working a little longer than 10, 15 years, but I can see people's experiences much different. What is the difference?
I think the single biggest contributor, what's different now than even just a decade ago, like you mentioned, is the fact that now we are always on. So when it comes to work, many people have infinite work days. The workday doesn't end. So as we all know, and even for those who don't know about stress, ideally you have stress that peaks and then you get over the stress and then you resume a sense of normalcy again.
Right.
The problem of what's happening now is with this infinite workday, people don't have the time to recover. They're not completing their stress cycle. So instead, what happens is it just compounds onto day after day, week after week. And now we've got chronic stress in a way that even just a decade ago, we wouldn't have seen in the same way.
That's so true. In fact, AIS believes that so much we did a documentary on it.
Yeah.
I mean, we did Mismatch. And
Yeah.
contention is basically what you said.
Yes.
Many, many, many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
when the saber-toothed tiger or whatever came into your village and scared the hell out of you, and you had a stressful event, 20 minutes later it was gone, you calmed down.
Yes.
Now, as you said, which hit the nail right on the head, it's never ending. Even after work, you're going to get a text on your phone, and we're not built for that.
That's right.
Physiologically, our evolution has not caught up with the technology of today of constantly being under stress. You're so right. I'm not quite sure what to do about that. Let me ask you just a side question.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people now work from home.
Yes.
And a lot of people thought that was a great thing. I can work from home. Do you agree with that, or do you think that's more stressful?
I think it's not as simple as saying yes or no. So if you look at the data that Gallup did during the pandemic, what showed up for the first time as a root cause of burnout, which had never shown up before, was a lack of separation between work and life, which made sense because what was happening is what you just said. Suddenly, we were working at home and living at work. And so in that instance, it was contributing to burnout. Now, 5 years later, you look, one of the largest contributors to stress is when people are saying that the commute, and now they're having to redo their schedules again and losing their telework schedules. So I don't think it's as simple as saying yes or no. I think it really is for each individual in their season of life, which way of working is going to give them the least amount of stress.
And you're right. That is true and it also depends on the person, like everything else
Yes.
that deals with stress. Because when I was an educator for almost 30 years, and I was commuting to work and things like that. I used that commute to turn on my work brain, for lack of a better explanation. So to get into it, that half hour in my car alone, which is, let me tell you, I've done the other thing too, where I had to take the subway to work. The car's better. So that 30 minutes in that car to turn on that brain. But some people, as you rightfully point out,
Yep.
when you work at home, you never leave work.
Right.
It's
And
not
what you
so
described, you had these bookends to your day. You had these
right,
natural,
right.
almost geographical bookends that were a signal to your brain, a signal to even the people around you of are you in work mode? Are you in life mode? And now it's almost impossible to tell the difference.
And for those people who are listening to us, let me tell you something. For somebody who does work a lot at home, just shutting off your email but leaving a computer on, it's not quite the same as leaving the building and going home. So there's not as much a separation. So that could, depending on who you are, could be
Yeah.
contributing to your stress.
Hmm.
You should really look at that. You also introduced a really great idea of a joyful rebellion. I
Hmm.
love that. That's so meaningful. What does that look like in real workplace, especially for someone who feels, and God, I've met so many of these people
Hmm.
who feel stuck or overwhelmed at work.
Hmm.
What does a joyful rebellion look like?
To me, a joyful rebellion is saying that we are not going to work the way we've been working. It's a joyful rebellion against stress and burnout. One of the biggest myths that I have uncovered is that stress is just the price of success. It's a myth that I bought into. It's a myth that I unintentionally modeled to everyone who worked for me. And the Joyful Rebellion is saying, actually, that's not true. We can be successful without crushing chronic amounts of stress. And the key of the Joyful Rebellion is that it's less stress, more joy, and zero toxic positivity. That's the key. Because so often people try to go too far the other way, and now there's this toxic positivity, this push to be positive, even when the world is falling apart, which causes more stress and less joy.
Well, that makes sense. And you're right. I've seen it. At
Yeah.
one point, when I was a young man, I won't say what decade that was, but it was a long time ago.
The 90s.
No, it was before that. Um, I worked at Wall Street,
Hmm.
in not as a broker or anything, but and I watched the guys who were succeeding, becoming partners in Bear Stearns
Hmm.
and places like that, just physically change in front of my
Yeah.
eyes. They turned gray, ashen,
Hmm.
lost weight. They were like, so, oh my God, what the hell
Yeah.
happened to that guy? Last year, I remember him, So, but that success, you're right.
Hmm.
We just assume it's part of being successful, but
Hmm.
that's not necessarily true. Now, step one, because I read this in your article, of your method to see stress differently. We
Hmm.
all need to do that. We
Hmm.
all need to see stress differently. Um, what is and tell us what is the mindset shift that people should make, that they need to make before anything else can improve, before you start feeling better? What do you have to do?
I encourage the leaders and teams that I work with to shift from thinking, what's wrong with me, to what's going on around me.
That's
Because many times leaders and teams think that their high levels of stress are a personal failure. It means they've done something wrong. They can't hack it. They can't cut it. So if we can take that personal judgment out of it, remove that shame and blame, and say, what's going on around me? What's happening right now in this workplace? Then we can start to see what's really there. And many times I'll talk to leaders who say, I'm not really that stressed. But when I ask their teams say, are you kidding me? I've never worked for anyone more stressed than this leader. So part of this seeing it is just having some real, true self awareness.
you know that's a really good point. I hope you guys paid attention to that. Have some self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that AIS recommends is doing a stress breakdown of what it is your stresses are. We have things like the stress mastery questionnaire, and we have some other stress assessments on our site that, I mean, they're like $5, but you get a lot of information. You may not realize what's stressing you out.
Yeah,
I've taken it. Dr. Kirsch has taken it, and we both went, really? So,
yeah,
you know, or you may be, as you said, delusional, think, oh, I'm not stressed. Right. If everyone else around you is seeing it, you need to have a real understanding of it. It's really a really good point.
yeah. I love what you said. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Please.
I was going to say, I love what you said about the assessments, because what I find is that when there's an assessment or when there's a data point, that allows a team to have a different kind of conversation, because now we're talking about this assessment. We're talking about the results. It gives us a starting place rather than just saying, hey, Will, I want to spend an hour to you talking about stress. That's going to cause me more stress. So
Right.
I love what you said about the assessments you use. I think it is such a powerful tool.
Well, it's a very nuts and bolts kind of thing, and I'm that kind of guy.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of men are. You point to a problem, we want to fix it, but not having a good handle on what your stressors are, or having a misconception of what your stresses are, is not helpful. You can't work on managing your stress until you really know what it is. For instance, somebody I know who did one of the stress assessments explained to me that he thought that he hated going to different places like the bank and the DMV and all that. And what he really found out is he hated the wait time online.
Okay.
So I mean, it was just a little bit of a clarification, and he went, oh, well, I can do something about that. I can make appointments. So it becomes very important. It just really does. Again, everyone is different. So now you also broke down the different types of stress and the 5 types of stress, which I think is great. Every time you can to make digestible chunks out of something, I think it's great. Can you walk us through that? How can someone quickly identify the type that they're dealing with, like in the middle of a busy day, you know?
Sure. It's really easy. And once you see the 5 types, you can't unsee them. So type number 1 is schedule. There is too much to do, not enough time. Type number 2 is suspense. You are waiting on something, there's anticipation, there's ambiguity, and while you wait, it causes stress. Third is social, the stress of people. The people you work with are making it harder for you to do your job. Fourth is sudden. Something unexpected happens, something requires an urgent decision, or it takes you off your plan. And then the 5th one is system. When the very workplace system that you're a part of, through inequity or disrespect or toxic environment, when the very system you're a part of makes it difficult to be successful. So those are the 5 types of work stress.
That's awesome. As a former teacher, you experience those every 45 minutes.
That's right. And you're not alone. Over 80% in our latest national research study, 80% of people said they experience all 5 regularly. So it isn't you're spot on.
But you know, it's a really good breakdown. Again, you know, some of those things will stress you out more than others, you know, but not having enough time in a day, oh my God, you know, what are you supposed to do? You know, so I've seen people work 60, 70-hour weeks simply because they've just said, well, it's my job. Not really. And seen people who are forced to give a presentation. Hey, we'd like you to present that to it. What? You know, so that social aspect is, and you know, there's only so much you could do about each one of those things. But let's say you could help each one of those things by reading Amy's book.
Sure.
50%. What a great, you know, what a great help that would be. You might live longer. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying, stress
Yeah.
is stress is so detrimental to us that
Yes.
we sometimes forget. Um, Suspense stress
Mm-hmm.
is, I thought, was very interesting because it's
Mm-hmm.
about you're anticipating something. You know, how do you recommend people to manage that? Where nothing has actually helped. I'm guilty of that myself.
Yeah.
I'm the oh my god, what if person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've gotten a handle on some of it
Uh-huh.
because of my age. By the way, as you get older, you start saying, "Yeah, well, so what?" But
Mm-hmm.
you can't always,
Mm-hmm.
and that anticipation of stress. How do you deal with that?
There are a couple things you can do. So, suspense stress, by definition, is exactly what you just said. It's a lack of information. So, you find out that your boss is retiring early. You have no idea who you're going to be reporting to. Are they going to be a good boss, a terrible boss?
Yeah.
You're in that place of waiting. So, part of it is just recognizing where is the suspense coming from? What is the information that I'm lacking? And is there a way to get that information? So often I coach leaders who want to wait until they've got all the information to share before they communicate it in times of change. And what we know from the research, what we know from our own stories is that that lack of information increases stress. So it's really about sharing as much as we can when we can. And also, even something as simple as saying, I will share with you everything I can as soon as I can. Because there will be times if you work for me, I've got information that you don't. You
Mhm.
know I have information that you don't. But that doesn't mean I'm able to share it with you today because of a million other factors. So suspense stress goes down when we can trust that the other person, when we can trust that other people are going to give us the information as soon as it's available. Where it really gets tricky is when trust is low and now I'm going through change at work and I don't believe that I'm going to
But
get accurate information.
and I've seen that happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
time and time again,
year
I
after
bet.
year.
Yes.
Um, like for instance, I worked in a school where they changed principals every 3 years. If, if you didn't know that,
Wow.
you this was your first year. You have a leader there that you like and trusted. They knew they were leaving. Are you leaving? No. Why would you say that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Until they would tell you at the end of April. Well, guess what? School's over in a month, and
Oh,
now you don't know who's coming in, and you wait all summer long to find out who the new leader is going to be. This person has an unbelievable amount of influence on your life.
right.
So that could be so you're so right. That could be so stressful. Just
Yeah.
yes, this is let just be upfront.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think when you coach leaders to just be upfront and be honest, I think you're not only alleviating the stress of all the workers,
Mm-hmm.
but also of the leader. They don't have to
Yeah.
come off as lying.
I think you're exactly right. And then it ripples out because we know stress is contagious. So
Yes.
when the leader's stressed, the team is stressed, and it just creates this cycle that it's hard to break.
And talking about teams, let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about teams for a while because most of us we don't work in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
There's a team environment.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think it was like a conspiracy when we were five, when we started working in groups. But so corporate America can get little
Yeah.
robots to help them.
Mm-hmm.
But you're in a team a lot of times, and a lot of times there's social stress
Mm-hmm.
that's goes along with that. And because we're people, we're not yet, we're not AI robots yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are some of the effective ways
Mm-hmm.
to address maybe tensions without making things worse? Because you can make it worse.
Yes. There are a few things that you can do specifically about social stress. So, the first one that I always advocate for is having team agreements. So, on a team, we have to decide What are we committing to do? What are we committing to not do? And what are we going to do when one of those commitments is broken? We have to have that set up in advance, because otherwise now you and I are in a conflict and we don't have any rules of engagement. We don't have any sense of what we're supposed to do. I'm a certified mediator. I specialize in workplace conflict, and I will be in mediations where the instance didn't happen a week ago or a month ago. They'll talk about something that happened years ago. So this conflict between people, we like to believe if we just ignore it or if we just don't address it, it's going to go away. And it doesn't. It
Right.
usually just grows and festers. So the two things I would advise: one, have team agreements. If you don't have them, create them. And if you do have them, dust them off and make sure you're living them. And then the second one is to make sure that people have the skills and the psychological safety in order to address things in a timely, respectful way. Because otherwise, years later, you're going to bring in a mediator like me who's going to have to try to reduce some of that stress in your system.
I was actually trained in conflict resolution,
Yeah,
one of the many things that I've been trained in. And you're right. I mean, the very first thing you said is have a very clear idea of what it is you're trying to accomplish, what it is you want to get done. Have a timeline, maybe a
exactly.
flow chart. I don't know,
Yep.
whatever works for your team. I've also found that having someone to lead the team in
Mm-hmm.
a very clear way
Mm-hmm.
is helpful too. That alleviated a lot of stress.
Yep.
So yeah, those are great ideas. If you're paying attention to this, and this stuff is happening at your job, listen.
When you just made a great point, because what you just described is how what the leader does has a huge impact. So you can be a leader that says, we're going to confront conflict head on. We're going to really make sure that that happens. But if the leader themselves isn't doing it, then no one else is going to do it. So I didn't want people to pass over, because I think you just made a really important point that it's as important what we do as what we say we're going to do.
And it's also important for people who are in that leadership position
Mm-hmm.
to understand, hey, do something.
Yeah.
Do something positive, do something helpful, do something that alleviates the stress and moves things forward. Don't do nothing. The one thing that we've always said about stress
Mm-hmm.
is the one thing you should never do is nothing.
Right.
It's just the same thing. If
Right.
you do nothing and just sit back and hope it resolves itself, in my experience,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that's worth, it's usually gotten worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
usually because then it feeds on itself,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't want to see that. And one of the other things you talked about actually helps that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this happen, oh my God, way too many times. And that
Mm-hmm.
is system stress.
Mm-hmm.
The stress is built into the system based
Yeah.
on your research, because I know
Mm-hmm.
you do a lot, and you even authored one
Mm-hmm.
recently, which is, if you ever get the chance to look at it, please do.
Yeah.
How should leaders think differently about their role in either creating or reducing this type of stress? And when I say that, let me be clear. When I say they should create stress, it should be creating positive stress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, the first one to get this done wins steak knives. I don't know. That's from a movie. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can be productive and still be stressed and still be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Amy and I, standing in front of that roller coaster, we may have very different stress responses. She may be like my wife, very happy, looking forward to it, really
Yeah.
excited. I'm not.
Yep.
So that's also stress. So a leader's role is creating positive stress or
Mm-hmm.
reducing negative stress. How should leaders think differently about doing that? How do they go about doing that?
I wish every leader would do what you just said, which is to even understand the difference about the positive stress and the not so positive. So the good stress that you described, the you stress, the stress that helps you meet a deadline, the stress that helps you that helps you complete a task that you're trying to do. But then there's distress, which actually makes you less productive. So, unfortunately, what happens in many teams that I'm brought in to work with is they're having a conversation about two completely different kinds of stress. So, here's a recent example. I'm working with a leader who the team was saying how stressed they were. The leader was saying, I don't get it. I'm stressed every day. It's what helps me be a good leader. What he was describing was eustress, the stress that helps him be productive. His team was describing distress. They were feeling less productive, on the verge of burnout. So the first thing leaders can do is to understand those two differences and to make sure that everyone on the team understands them too. And to make sure that, are we unintentionally creating distress for others or even for ourselves? Because that's where we have a huge point where we can make a change.
You know what? Couple of things. One is, let's hope it's unintentional,
Yes, that's fair.
because I have seen leaders literally. There's a couple of saying, being in corporate America, they love the saying of the day. Well, the same thing holds true in other industries too. One of them was, well, everyone is guessing what I'm going to do next. I guess that makes me a great leader. No,
Uh-huh.
no, dude. That's not what makes you a great leader. Me not knowing what the hell you're going to want next is stressful.
Right.
And the other one, the saying was used for years in education. It took all the, excuse me for saying this, willpower to not laugh out loud when they say, well, we're building the plane as we go along.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me? This sounds like a formula for crashing. So you're right. Leaders have to think differently. The other thing is that leaders forget that they're more in control. Control of something alleviates stress.
Yes. And unfortunately, as we all know, in times of stress, we lose sight of that. We can lose sight of what's really in my control versus out of my control. So it's building in that time to pause, which we all know. We all know the power of the pause. But when stress is high and deadlines are looming, not everyone does it.
Yeah, and we need to, one of the management skills that you can learn from AIS or from reading Amy's book is to learn how to pause and maybe recalculate a little bit your perception of what's going on. There's a lot of stress is due to perception.
Yes, I love that. And I think it ties in so well to this last type of stress around system stress, because if you're in a toxic work environment where you are not being treated well, where you're not being paid fairly, then most self-regulation stress strategies aren't going to have a lasting impact on you.
Right.
So at some point, it's about saying, can I be successful in this system? Can I have the level of stress that I need and want in my life while being a part of this broader system? And unfortunately, sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is, I don't know how to be successful in this kind of an environment. And then it's about making really difficult decisions.
And let's be clear, sometimes it's you, sometimes it's me. I'm feeling like the system is against me. And sometimes you just have to accept that this is the system. And how do I work in this and not make myself crazy?
And if I can't, then how do I remove myself?
And if I can't, is it the system, or is it the environment that I'm in? In other words, let's say I'm in advertising. Is it because I hate advertising? Or is it because I hate this advertising firm, this marketing firm?
Yeah.
There's a difference. And sometimes, you have to have, again, a real self-analytical moment to say, okay. And that comes you can tell me if I'm wrong, because just me. But sometimes that comes with experience. The more experienced I got, the easier the system seemed. Because first of all, I was familiar with it. Second of all, I just went, okay, fine. After a while, you have to realize it's a bad moment. Yes, the system is broken and it's not working. But that's like 5% of the time. The other 95% of the time, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So that balance is important.
It is. And I think it's so individual too, because if you've got someone who's being retaliated against or who's being harmed in some way at work,
That's,
then
yeah,
it's 95% of the time versus 5%. So I think it brings us back to where you started around this is really individualized.
right.
And to really make sure that we have the self-awareness of our own situation is so important.
There's a whole phenomenally right on points.
Yeah.
Okay, so your final step that you talked about, I want to get to it because it's important. It's to solve stress without spinning. Oh my God, do I see people doing this? For someone who tends to overthink, I've been accused of that my whole
Me too.
entire life. I mean, and overthink everything. What is a
Yep.
simple way to move from analysis into action and start experiencing more joy at work? My whole life is why are you even going there? This, I don't know. It's the way my brain works or malfunctions, whatever you want to
Well,
say.
please
But
know I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because I have literally thought about how much thinking is overthinking. Like, well, how do I have to think about something before I'm an overthinker? So
it's
you make
incredible.
sense to me.
A neuroscientist told me something once that really stuck with me, and I've mentioned it before on this show, that the average human has between 70,000 and 90,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
80% of them are negative. So imagine if you're overthinking and you get up into the 90s,
Yes.
and so you can make yourself crazy. But imagine also,
Yeah.
and that's why we're here, is if you can just get it down to 50-50, how much more joy at work they can
Yeah,
experience.
that's a win.
So how do you do this without spinning? How do you
Yes.
solve stress without?
It is surprisingly simple. So there is an unstressing matrix so imagine if folks are listening or even watching us, imagine a really simple 2x2 matrix. And one axis is how important is the stressor to you? The other axis is, do you have control? And how you answer those two questions, your stressor lives in one of those 4 quadrants. And for each one of those quadrants, there's a next thing for you to do. So you don't have to have analysis paralysis. You don't have to overthink it. There is a next guiding thing for you to do in each of those 4. And it's available for free on my website. So if folks want to buy the book, they can, but it's not like, oh, you have to buy the book to get the answer. It's there. It's available for free, the Unstressing Matrix. Because my hope is to share it with as many people as possible, because so many folks are stuck. They are stuck and they're not quite sure what's the next thing. So wherever your stressor lands, there's the next thing that you can do.
And I'll put the website underneath. But folks, what Amy just said, analysis paralysis, man, I'm going to make that, like, I'm going to get a tattoo that says that, because that's so true. Oh my God, what if? And you can go off on a tangent.
Yes.
That will make you crazy. It'll make you miserable. And she's telling you don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
And we tested the frame. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, ask yourself, is this going to matter 6 months from now?
Yes, exactly. And we tested the framework. So we wanted to find out, does this really work? And there's always that moment, and you know this as a researcher, there's that moment where you're kind of scared. Like, oh gosh, I put this out. What if it doesn't work? 96% of working Americans said this is helpful at reducing stress. So what that says to me is we've overcomplicated it. We've got to simplify it. We've got to figure out how to have these 4 ways of moving forward. Because when we do that, when there's less stress, then there's room for more joy. And those 2 things happening together are the perfect storm in a good way.
Amy, thank you so much. Guys, cheers to Monday. Look at Amy's website. There's a lot of really good, helpful stuff. No one is, if you break your arm, You can go to a doctor, they can fix it.
Yeah.
You have to fix your own stress. You have to manage it before it manages you.
Yeah.
That's why people like Amy Leneker are here. And that's why I thank you so much for joining us today, giving us some insight into this. And I also thank you for all you're doing to help alleviate this and working with leaders and people who have a big effect on work environments and the people they work with as a team. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And right back at you. For 50 years, your organization has been doing this. For 5 decades, your
5 decades.
organization has said there's a better way. So the thank you goes right back to you, too.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And it's been our honor, AIS, and we're continuing to do that, continuing to come out with courses and webinars and have people like you write for us, which I hope we see soon. So check out our magazines.
You got it.
And that's going to do it for today. This has been your host, Will Heckman. I want to thank you again for joining us today. But don't forget, please follow the podcast, subscribe, and all of that. But I also want to remind you, just as we said, stress is different for each of us. There's no one stress reduction or management strategy that's right for everyone. So that means you need to join us next time as we explore more stress management strategies and insights. So good day, everyone.